Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. I'm Gio, creative director here at Adobe, and I will be your host for today. So I'm extremely excited about this live stream as one, it is my first ever time hosting, and two, I'm hosting an amazing artist whose work I have admired for such a long time now. So here we have Romain, who will show us how he uses his traditional art background in the digital realm. So this is the first time he used 3D to go through the entire creative digital process. So it'll be really fascinating to see what he will show us. So Romain, welcome. It's so awesome to have you here, man.
Yeah, it's awesome too. Thanks you guys for having me tonight. And yeah, it will be a fun time together to talk and to share with you my experience to learn 3D almost from scratch. And yeah, it will be a cool moment to spend together. Hopefully.
All right, so let's should get started, and let's not waste any more time and see some cool stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I will just present myself and just tell me a little bit about my background and how I'm working today before jumping into the project we did together. So yes, just here you can see just a list of my main social medias, and you can take a screenshot if you want to follow a bit more closely my work. And just wanted to show you some of my personal work as well as some commissions and educational stuff I did along the years. But first, I just would like to mention that I come from a scientific background. I did I did a PhD in soil science, so
Wow.
it was related to clay.
Clay, yeah.
But not exactly in the same fashion than now I'm using clay. And maybe 6 years ago, I changed my plan and I decided to start a freelance career in sculpture and miniature design. So I used to work for a variety of miniature companies. And as well as personal project that I was able to produce and distribute myself. So I can show you some of the examples of this work if you don't know me. And yep, so I can zoom in this little gallery of works. So most of the time I'm doing native inspired designs and characters. So here is one cool Inuit character with dreaming about hunting things and dreaming about the next hunting he will probably do.
What kind of a clay did you use? Is that super sculpty or?
So yes, those are traditional sculpt, and they were mostly done with polymer clays. So it's a clay that you can bake in an oven and then rework. Yeah, you can create cuts and sand it and stuff like that. So I can show some other examples like this kind of strange shaman. Maybe another one in progress here. So I'm kind of fascinated by faces and busts. So it's my thing, to create some kind of strange expressions and yeah, trying to create a feeling of a deep feeling in the face of characters. So yeah, some other sketches. I'm doing a lot of sketches to practice every day. So yes, this was my some example of my personal work. I'm also interested into various crafts, let's say like ceramic, wood carving, jewelry design. Like this is a brooch. This is a wood carving, one of the first I ever did. Yes, the same in progress.
Yeah.
And even some kind of 3D scan yeah, tests to learn the techniques, and gradually switch to digital. Yeah, so this was my my most of my job before jumping into digital tools, especially with this project with you guys at Adobe. And I did some cool sketches like this.
I
This
love this
hand.
one.
And thanks to Pablo Munoz, I collaborated with him. He kindly created those renders. So I'm really glad to have those renders of my sketch. Yes, and maybe you remember that face, Gio. We did that
Yes.
together during a share.
A share session in the same space in
Session.
virtual reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
I
was
was like,
a cool session together. And
yeah.
then I can just show you some of my other one of important thing in my freelance career is education. So I did quite a lot of workshops all around the world to teach sculpture, and I'm also doing commissions for various miniature companies. So that's the three main axes of my freelance career.
Man, that's amazing. So with that, like just always been curious on how you choose the theme of your sculpture. What's your creative process from coming up with an idea to, executing upon it? So
for this project, I was super lucky to collaborate, to talk with Pierre, and then to be able to have to be free to do almost whatever I wanted. So you gave me this opportunity for this project. So I was very, very glad. And I envisioned this project almost as a personal project because the design part was kind of free. And when I start a personal project, it's most of the time something behind my head for a long time. Like the theme of this project was based on my interest to learn more about the way humanity, like man and food. So I'm interested over the years how the humanity try to grow food, to find food, to settle, to create agriculture and stuff like that. So, and I recently heard about a very cool story about the fact that they found a very old relic in Central Asia, telling the story of the first brewed beer. It's written, with a very, very old language, and researcher they actually read the recipe, and they created the beer with that very, very old recipe.
You said in Central Asia. You mentioned.
Central
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So I was really interested by this period of time where the humanity transitioned between gatherer, hunter, and then agriculture. When they settled and they tried to grow food at the same spot and stuff like that. So I based this project on a goddess. On a goddess of beer, actually. And the name of this goddess in Central Asia is Ninkasi. I don't know if I pronounce it very well, but so it was my starting point. And yes, I wanted to create like a diorama depicting this goddess trying to brew beer with some kind of very old and strange artifacts like ceramics, potteries, grain, a variety of props depicting this kind of very primitive brewing scene. So I can just show you the final result just to
a tease. My goodness.
So this is the final render of this this goddess. You know,
That is beautiful.
she's holding like ceramic with wild cereals, because back in the days the first beers were brewed with wild cereals, even before agriculture. So it was a cool fact to know. It even started before agriculture started. So
Hmm.
this is the entire diorama.
My
Uh,
goodness.
yeah,
And you're
with
going to break this down in terms of how you did it, right? This is amazing.
yes, yes, that's my point to today.
Wow. Yeah.
And a little close up on the face, you know, with the strange patina.
Hmm.
I don't know the strange render texturing process.
It just
Uh,
looks so tactile, like a material that really you're familiar with. That's what I love about this whole scene. Everything
yeah,
about it is familiar in terms of believability, in how it's represented or rendered.
yeah, thanks. I actually, yeah, I never did any 3D project like this. So I really try to take my traditional skills to just to paint, to
Yeah.
sculpt in VR. It was really mimicking my traditional style. So maybe it's something
That's what I'm really interested in here about is your experience with that, because it'll hopefully inspire a lot of traditional artists to go through this path and explore the digital realm.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, your sketches here. It's awesome.
Ah, yes, the sketches, and hopefully, yes, people, traditional people, or even 3D artists. Actually, we can really we can switch from medium to medium really fast, thanks to 3D scanning or 3D
Hmm.
printing. So we can go back and forth between computer and traditional aspects. So it's kind of fascinating today, the ability we have as artists to switch between those amazing tools.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's no longer a barrier with that. There's like
yeah,
digital
yeah.
artists can take up clay and vice versa, So yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool, but nonetheless I was really scared at the beginning of this process. So I started traditionally, because it was more in my comfort zone, and I was like, okay, how I will tackle this entire process. So I started sketching, and actually I'm always sketching a lot
Hmm.
of ideas, very small drawings, doodles, to just to to remember things,
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
shapes and interesting organic shapes I see. I don't know, when I'm hiking or when I am
Hmm.
in a museum or everywhere. So I started sketching a lot of different, potteries. Those were most probably drawn during a travel in Japan.
Hmm.
Uh, yes, those very strange spoon or teapots, jars and plates. And yeah, I
I
was
love
really,
how just it's like all the elements of nature, right? Like even the human form is what I'm saying. Like it's really fascinating to just see your sketches and how you incorporate a lot of the information you've acquired in your head into
yeah.
your designs. It's fascinating.
So yes, I have been I've done those drawings, and I even started like really.
Hmm.
I it's not the best sketch ever in clay, but just trying to set up some primary shapes,
Hmm.
and then I also try to draw some uh, more architectural and general aspect of the scene, like the pose of the character, and yes, the look of the character. It's very rough, but how the architecture, let's say, how architecture
Hmm.
will be set, and yes, how it will look like. And if you want, I can switch to those renders, final renders, to see how uh,
Yeah.
it's uh, it's looking like at the end of the process. So it's not exactly like the sketches, obviously, but still you have those, organic shapes almost everywhere, like in the plate here, the little plant here, the spoons, the throat with those, waving shapes and stuff like that. So we will try to break down all those elements.
Oh yeah, because your process of getting to that level of realism would be definitely interesting to see in the tools that you've used. So
yep. So the first tool I used actually was, as I told you, I was a bit scared of starting this project. So I was like, okay, how can I tackle that after sketching? So I did a clay sketch, because most of the time I start by the sculpting the face in my project, because it's the central point of the scene. And yes, I don't want it to do a bad job on this very important aspect of the sculpt. So I wanted to stay in my comfort zone, and I did like a clay sketch like this one. Okay. So it's plastilina, like NSP Chavant. It measure roughly 7 to 8 centimeters. Maybe I have yes, it's in my hand here, so you can see the scale of the clay sketch. And I did a 3D scan, and then I did a little cleanup pass and imported that into the digital tool. So then once the 3D scan has been done, I imported that scan in Medium, in Medium, the VR sculpting tool, to start actually the project. So I was really glad about the resolution I can achieve with my photographic setup. It was a photogrammetry scan, so I took multiple pictures of the clay, more or less 200 pictures, and then I drag and drop in a software to reconstruct the whole thing, and that was all I did.
It's really cool to visualize it in VR, because you being a sculptor, where you have the physical object in front of you, sculpting it, and then migrating that into the digital realm, but still with a headset, still be able to visualize it like you have it in front of you, like a physical object, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It must be does it translate really well, like because you're a clay sculptor and then you're in VR sculpting?
Yeah, I was really surprised at the first time I imported something I created in clay, because I did some test before with other physical elements, like this clay sketch and this wooden plate I sculpted in oak, and I did the same process just to check the feasibility of the method. And this is the in the medium viewport with the texture on it, and it's absolutely amazing, because when I switch from something traditional to VR, there is no distortion, or the volumes are really the same than in reality. There is no surprise. It's like, okay, exactly the same thing in VR than in reality. And I was really surprised. It was a good surprise.
It's a predictable, like, oh yeah, of course, it looks as it should, because it's using my same eyes I view three-dimensionally in real life. So.
Yeah. So, and then after I tackled this very first step and really started to enjoy the VR sculpting process. Actually, thanks to you and Samuel Poirier.
Yes, Sam.
I tried to use Medium maybe 3 or 4 years ago on the very beginning of the software, and I didn't found a proper way to use it. Actually, it was a bit difficult for me to control the shapes, the volumes, and thanks to your let's say layer approach, it was much more convenient to control the shapes in an additive way. So I was glad.
That's good to know. Yeah, that's based off clay, right? Like additive, instead of like ZBrush or methods of polygonal sculpting where you're pulling from the surface, you're adding like clay dabs, I guess. So yeah, I'm glad that helped out. I mean, that was originally Sam who came up with that, and I just took it and ran with it as well. So thanks to him.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks to him, and he's still doing an amazing job with the software, by the way. And so that's Geoffrey.
Geoffrey.
Working with you. he took the picture at my place when I was still working on the project. So yeah. It was a little bit messy. My desktop was a bit messy, but anyway. And I wanted to show you some of the main steps, in Medium, just quick to show you the process. So this was the very first sketch of the diorama, still with the proof of feasibility with the other, the first head I scanned. So it wasn't the final head, but it was the very first shape and volumes for the architecture of the diorama. And then I replaced the first head with the final sketch in clay here, and I tried to establish a bit more the anatomy and the gesture of the character. Yes, like this. So here I was working a little bit more precisely on the gesture of the hand holding the ceramic.
Beautiful. And I love hands. Every time sculptors show hands, I'm just like, it's so nice.
So powerful to sculpt hands, actually. And at some point, I found it quite comfortable to work with a kind of a fog. It was relaxing for my eyes in the VR. And this is some screenshot of the maybe not the final version, but a more polished version of the character, with quite a lot of details, jewels and stuff like that. And if I go on this island of images, I can show you quickly the process of building the scene itself. Like I started by very, very simple shape like this, and then at some point the files were too heavy, so I splitted the files in separated files using proxies. So actually what's in gray here is very low res, and I'm working on the brown voxels at the moment of the process. And slowly by slowly I divided the files in smaller files because it was really heavy, and I refined the different elements and the detail of the diorama. So this is yes, a little bit more advanced with carvings and stuff like that. And yes, actually, if you can launch the video number 3, we can see maybe the scene moving in Medium.
Oh, there it is. Before you jump into that, Romain, we just have a really quick question of what 3D scanner software you use, just to kind of go back. I should have asked it a little earlier when you were scanning the head.
What kind of hardware?
3D scanner software you used for scanning the head.
Actually, I think it was what's the name of this one?
I don't want to derail you too much, but just something that you may be able to answer later if you can't remember right now.
I don't remember the name of the software at the moment. Like I forgot it. Sorry.
We can circle back to it. I didn't want to take you too much away from this one. This awesome video here.
And maybe also we can launch the video number, maybe a video with some props. Let's say the video number 4. Yes, I don't remember if I have another video about the medium.
The one that's playing right now is it's the environment one, right?
Yeah, it's the trying to find another one with maybe the throne. Mike, if you have it, can launch it, or a prop. If not, it's not a problem. Yeah, this one is cool as well, because I spent quite some time to design the jewels, even if it's so tiny in the final scene. But I was like, okay, I really enjoy the sculpting process. Actually, it's so intuitive and really cool to actually to almost to hold something in your hands. So I was like, okay, I want to sculpt this one. I was using the lace to carve pottery.
So it's so easy with that lathe to design like pottery and ceramics.
It was.
So you started off with a vision, but then I guess it grew into something bigger. Is that what happened here? Because you just were having so much fun.
Exactly. Actually, I was like completely focused on the props. So I established the main shapes, and I started sculpting the props, the assets, and I was like so enjoying the process that I sculpted many more than expected. And I was like, okay, no, I have something much bigger than expected. How can I tackle that?
That's such an artist thing to do, man. Like once we get excited, it just goes out of scope or within scope is this one.
I was a bit too much excited about it. So here in the video, you can see the variation in actually the imported 3D scan of the oak plate. Here, some strange teapot with those organic shapes. So I really go wild with the design.
Wow! And you painted all this in the program, or was this photo scanned?
Actually, in the video, it was only a quick paint pass in medium.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
It looked photoreal. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I had quite a lot of medium files, and I needed to export that out of the software to be able to tackle the other process of the entire rendering and texturing rendering process. So I exported all the files, and at some I used the ZBrush as technical as a technical tool at this point, just to clean the artifacts. Sometimes when you export from the VR, from medium at least, you have some little artifacts to remove. Also, I needed to decimate the files because they were really heavy. When the program transfer the voxels to a mesh, sometimes it's really dense mesh. So I needed to decimate, and also to rescale, reposition in the ZBrush world. So it's then much more easy to transfer it to whatever
renderer, painter. So to be clear, this was the first time you're learning a lot of these steps, right? From the more artistic, which is sculpting in VR, to the more technical 3D stuff. Wow.
I just discovered the fact, axes exist in the digital world, like everything from scratch. I already opened at the time sometimes ZBrush, but even the interface of the software was a bit mysterious for me. So now I'm a bit more comfortable because I worked with the software for a few months, but at that time I was like a little bit lost in the multiple options. So I tried to focus on the technical side, but it was really hard to just focus on the technical side when you don't even know the interface and the UI. And
wow.
UI UI-wise, ZBrush is quite a big deal to
Yeah.
to handle. So then I needed to use that software to
To
create,
UV, wow.
to prepare my meshes for the texturing pass. So I needed to use ZBrush to create the UVs and to retopologize a little bit the multiple elements I sculpted in Medium. So it was really tough for me because, as I told you, I wasn't very familiar with the software. So at that time, I did not understood the way to work with subdivisions. So just to say that I was really a beginner. And yes, at the end of the day, I managed to to break those assets in UVs.
Oh man, that's a great UV layout too, to get what you needed out of it too.
So one by one, I cleaned, I retopologized as I could, and I split that in UVs, and I did a lot of back and forth between ZBrush and Painter, and even Blender to try to use some additional plugins to clean and organize the UVs.
Oh, I see. I see. You had to get out of ZBrush for that. I see.
Yeah, because it's not made for. I guess most of the people they use Maya, but I learned that after the whole process. So Maya or Blender, there are a lot of options and plugins to really intuitively set up and make clean UVs. But in ZBrush, it's not very easy.
How did the concept of UVing? I'm just curious, coming from a traditional background, did that map into anything traditionally for you, like unwrapping? Like some kind of paper sculpture or something?
The closest thing in my mind was like an origami, something like you can unwrap and fold, but that was only that, and I don't at that time I didn't even understood it could be transferable, the UVs. From one software to another. So I was like, okay, I'm doing the UVs here, but the coordinates are not the same. How can I transfer that with the mesh, with the same? It was a mess. So slowly,
I was trying to imagine. I'm like, I do not even know how I would do it if I were you. I would just quit and go back to McDonald's and for me and work there. Like, that's a lot of knowledge that you just acquired. So that's really cool.
Especially when you try to compress time in 3 months.
Yeah.
So, or 4 months. I don't remember how long I spent on that project, but
even a year.
4 months, let's say. So yeah. So this is an example of the let's say the clean mesh. Even if it's not game ready asset at all, and the final texture. So at the end, it's not that bad in terms of seams and artifacts in the textured file. And yes, now I would do much cleaner everything because I know where I'm going. But I needed to do at least once to understand a bit more the whole process. And yes, as I told you, I did a lot of back and forth between those software to just understand the technical aspect of that. And after that, I was able to bake everything in Painter because everything was ready, working well, and I was able to set up my Painter experience and journey. So
there we go.
Like, okay, now I have a file that is able to be painted and textured, and now I have to discover the Painter software. So I was watching a lot of videos about how to just understand the UI and everything at all the steps, and I can maybe zoom into those. Actually, those are high-res render directly took in Painter. So I did the texturing process
Mhm.
and then I rendered in Painter to just to to have a little image of each asset in the software.
It's like a
So,
showcase, a way to showcase. That's beautiful, man.
oh,
Wow.
yeah, this one is
Ah.
the oak plate I scanned and
Mhm.
textured as a ceramic plate, actually. So it was fun to transfer something in oak in the real world to something in the digital world looking
Mhm.
like ceramic, let's
Yeah,
say.
yeah, you could just do marble, whatever you want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
wow, this is awesome. Did that like I mean, I want to ask, like, was that an inspiration for some coral reef, like the one of the items that you had there with the patterns? I found it really beautiful and
This
fascinating.
one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah, what was the inspiration for that? I was just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah. It's you mentioned the right element, coral reef.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
there is a lot of you might know that form and yes, shape in nature, they are sometimes not controlled but resulting in physical laws.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and one of these physical law is called the Turing law. It's, I don't know the equation, the scientific equation by heart,
Mm-hmm.
but it results in a pattern you can find on a lot of different animals and shapes, including coral reefs. It's like a very intricate,
Mm-hmm.
like the one I tried to mimic here, actually.
Yeah. I wonder
So
if the brain has that law of pattern
yeah,
as well. Yeah, isn't it? It's got like a similar configuration.
yeah, and fishes as well, like tropical fishes. Some of them
Yeah.
have this pattern. Also, like leopard, they have also the same kind of pattern, but at a different scale. So it's fascinating to see like those physical laws
Mm-hmm.
in nature and try to use them as an artist. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool.
Just for my reference, is it Turing? Who's the so I can read up on that a little bit.
Turing,
Oh, okay.
something like
Turing.
that, as far as I remember.
Okay, I should look into that because I'm
Yeah.
interested in patterns too for my own creature designs. So yeah.
So maybe we can launch a series of painter video to see interactively the files during the painting process. Yeah, for example, this one of the face. Uh, so it's, yeah, it's just a layer of like I would do in real, like not in real because this is real, but like in traditional painting process. So I'm adding just layer and layer of paint,
Mm-hmm.
and especially on this one, I try to paint some element by hand because it was, yeah, the face, and it was difficult to control everything by a procedural approach.
Mm-hmm.
So the eyes, the hightings, they were done by hand in the software. So
Do
yes,
you also glaze your own sculptures once you've bronzed them or cast them, similar to what you're doing here? Your
uh,
real sculptures, I mean.
yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
it's not I used to be a miniature painter, like very small scale miniatures. No, I'm more like, yes, washing the cast, because most of the time I'm doing a cast of a sculpt, and I'm doing washes and dry brush to enhance and to contrast the sculpt. So exactly like I did in painter, and actually my
Yeah.
my painter experience as an artist was kind of satisfying because I used the same approach as a traditional painter, or
Mm.
yes, a
It
traditional
totally
painter.
it totally translates. We
Yeah.
actually have a relevant question. The question from the chat is, how did you achieve the realistic look of these materials in your sculpts? Are these all high-res sculpts? I guess since we're on the topic of materials and painter, if you want to touch on that more in detail.
I did some of the texture because when I sculpted, I wasn't aware of the power of texturing, how it can, modify the normal maps, and how it can really create or mimic relief on the sculpt. So I wasn't even aware of that. So I sculpted some of the texture by hand before on the mesh, like wooden veins and stuff like that. And when I imported the thing and I started texturing, I simply took basic materials and I tweaked them a little bit to achieve the look I wanted. And actually, in terms of mood, I didn't want it to compete with extremely talented, hyper realistic artists, because I wasn't able to compete on a technical level, obviously, because it was the first time for me. So I tried to approach it like a dreamy texture, a dreamy material. We don't exactly know if it's ceramic, wood, or whatever. It's a mix between those various textures. So yes, I hope it answers. But the painting process was really simple. Drag and drop a basic material like the one you can see on the video at the moment. So I don't remember the name of the texture itself, but a simple wooden material. And then I tried to tweak a little bit. I tried to rearrange the the direction of the wooden veins and stuff like that. And then yes, I created some brush strokes.
I remember I was really fond of, like, you were adding the lichen, the white kind of splotchy. Yeah, that really adds to that, like, age. I mean, I think to speak a little bit on the realism aspect, I think these to me look really tangible and realistic. I think maybe it's because also of your freshness to the medium, right? Like, a lot of the hyper realists may kind of go a little bit too heavy on the texturing. I think you just strike the right amount of balance and sort of adding that sort of, you were saying, like, that more different elements of, like, you don't really know if it's ceramic or this, but it all feels so familiar because of all the elements you added just in the right balance for me. Like, when I look at this, it's like, yeah, it looks tangible is what I see, and that's awesome. So
I just wanted to create, an atmosphere more than a texture in itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I want to save as a texture and reuse like everywhere. Like, this is a texture of wood and I will reuse it forever everywhere. And it was experimental also, because I was touching all the buttons, trying all the source material, and just discovering the entire thing. So sometimes I just randomly found something cool and I was like, okay, I want to just splash this on this ceramic and let's see what happens. So
that's the beauty of painter, right? You just kind of go whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, this is like you're blending different materials to come up with something else. It's very handcrafted what you have.
And at the moment in the video, you can see my approach to paint and wash the architectural part, let's say. So it's the same. I use a variety of very subtle washes, sometimes a bit more with more roughness, sometimes only in the cavities, sometimes just on the peaks, just to vary a little bit the texturing approach. And yes, at the end it looks okay for the scene. Yeah, this one is a cool ceramic. Actually, it was one of the first I textured, because I started by the smallest elements. not to destroy all of my work, and I started like the smallest one, like I did for the sculpting part. I concentrate myself on the face, and then I sculpted the assets because I was a bit too afraid of messing up everything.
You want to make sure that all those elements work before you commit, I guess.
Exactly. And then I also encountered some texturing issues. At some point I was like, okay, I did the UVs, but I realized that they are not sufficiently good because my technical abilities were not very excellent.
Textile density and all that stuff.
The textile density here is just wow, it's a mess. So I tried to fix that after I saw this trouble, and I tried to fix those textile density problem as much as I can, as much as I could. But for sure now I will proceed completely with a different approach. Even from the sculpting path, some of the, let's say, if you look at this is all merge, and actually it's almost impossible to create a new UV with that kind of element. So now I would proceed completely with a different approach to be more efficient in the process. But anyway, at the end of the day, I was able to export files, to export maps from Painter, and for most of the assets I exported in 4K. I don't want it to export everything in 8K because I was pretty sure, even if I wasn't sure of the process, I was almost pretty sure it was a mess if I export everything in 8K. So I tend to favor a 4K resolution for, let's say, 80% of the files, and I try to focus on the face, the character, and the largest part, let's say the the architectural parts and maps. Here they are maybe 8K.
Beautiful.
8K. And then I was at the point of the process where I needed to render and to assemble everything in a single file to be able to see everything at the same time. So I needed to choose in the variety of rendering engine something to be able to combine everything. So I was like, okay, we have multiple options now, so I needed to know all of these options, and I tended to favor Blender to render everything because it was open source, and I was a bit fascinated by this software because it's very versatile and the community is very active. So the community can help me to answer my problems if I have some. So I choose that software because of its versatility. And yes, I faced another challenge because I needed to learn Blender, and I also needed to choose a visual approach to render the whole scene. It's good to texture and to render one asset, but alone it's a bit missing something, a general atmosphere, you know. So I needed to establish some visual guideline for me to be able to create an ambience and atmosphere in the scene. So I went back to my photographic references, like trying to go back to the old masters like Henri Cartier-Bresson.
Oh yeah.
All of these, very, very famous photographers. So how they use light to create an atmosphere, how they structure the balance between elements in a 2D image. Because at the end, I was supposed to edit some 2D renders of this diorama. So I needed to watch some basic courses of photography, and also how to set up a basic photographic room, like what's a key light, what's a backlight, just to I never did that before, so it was just learning the basics.
Oh man.
I really wanted to create something dreamy. I'm not too much, personally speaking, I really like the dark and dramatic renders of some other amazing artists, but my taste tends to favor more luminous and highlighted renders. So I tried to go in that direction, but I faced some technical problems because I wanted something really, really highlighted, but at the same time really readable, and I didn't manage to find the proper way to create that in Medium. So at the end, I tried to create something looking like the golden hour, the famous ambient
3 o'clock or whatever.
whatever
time it is.
A very warm light with the sunset. So it was the closest thing to my imagination. And so this is a Blender viewport screenshot. So it was the very first attempt to create this lighting setup. And yes, it was still very, very dramatic. So the light were a bit too intense, and you see here not even all the texture map were imported in the software. So yes, I use HDRI to create a general lighting setup, and then complementary lights to adjust to what I wanted and to highlight some spots, and also a little volumetric fog to create like a dreamy floating particle feeling, let's say.
Thick atmosphere that really kind of just...
I also tried to cast some cloud in the scene, but it wasn't very successful at the moment. I was trying to use some meshes to cast the shadows of fake clouds on the diorama, but even if I watch maybe 10 YouTube tutorials, it wasn't very successful on the scene. So maybe for next one, for our next attempt.
At least you tried is the important thing. Like, you had a vision and you're going for it. So,
and now maybe I can show you the final renders. So. You have seen some of them at the very beginning of the...
Zoom in. This is all like beautiful stuff. My goodness.
Maybe this is the ceramic we saw in the painter video. So
it feels like it with a shape, right?
One of them, or almost the same one. So now in the viewer, in the final renders. So I displayed all these elements, and at some point here you can see that I also used some particle systems and in Blender to hide the connection between some of the meshes, because when I sculpted everything in VR, I wasn't aware of the connection between let's say here, the architecture and the floor, without those little herbs and grass and rocks. It was really, really ugly. It was, fake. So I was like, okay, I need to add something in Blender. So
you're like, you became an environment artist for game. That's like to hide the CG intersections. That's what they do. But I was wondering if you had a certain scale in mind, because you're playing with depth of field and, to kind of communicate also a certain scale for this. Like what, I don't know if there's anything specific, like if it's like several feet or,
I was aware of the depths of field before, because I was not a photographer, but I use a SLR camera to take my pictures. So I was aware of that, and then I learned about the digital depth of field watching tutorials. So I tried to use that as not as much as I could, but as good as I could, to create that kind of dreamy feeling as well. So I use it when I recorded I use the depths of field when I recorded the renders in Blender, and here in the renders I also did a quick Photoshop pass, just to to create an additional grain, photographic grain, and also to enhance the depths of field where I wanted to after I rendered the images. So maybe on the corners of the images, it's photoshopped with an additional depth of field. Yes.
Yeah. Because my original question was it communicates a certain scale to the piece, and I was wondering if it's like a smaller scale, like if this was a real sculpture, is fit on a table. It feels like
I don't even
specific scale.
I don't even know. I wanted to create something like 1-to-1 scale, but maybe it looks like a figurine, a little statue, a little diorama. Maybe as I'm used to sculpt, small scale, real clay. Maybe somehow I created something like that in digital.
That's what it feels like to me. Like your beautiful figurines. It's like a very dreamy, small scale, very highly detailed, scene, which is amazing.
Yeah.
We have a question of how long did this take from start to finish? Actually,
it was really difficult to monitor, because I was at the same time sculpting, learning and designing. So I took hours and hours. The project has been spread over 4 or 5 months, not full time, but almost sometimes full time. But yes, somebody used to those digital tools, they could spend a month, or maybe not a couple of weeks, but I spend much more time than somebody used to the tools. So
considering you had to learn everything in the process of 3D creation, that's mind-boggling to me, that even if you took a year, that would still not be enough for me, at least.
Yeah, and it was really an intense experience, but very informative, because now I know the whole process from start to finish, and I know how to be more efficient, and how to prepare the files more efficiently, to even how to sculpt as a 3D artist. It's not exactly the same when you want to texture something at the end of the day and render it, or when you sculpt something for 3D printing. It's not exactly the same way to prepare the files. Even if you can do the two things at the same time, you can 3D print and render something. But yes, a lot of details won't have been sculpted, like the the wheat,
The wheat,
here,
yeah.
the wild cereals. It was just a pain to cut all the little parts to create individual UVs, and it was a
Wow.
nightmare to render.
You literally took the hardest route to learn everything, which is awesome.
But it was really cool. And also, I had the pleasure to print 3D prints of some of the elements, to circle back to real world at some point.
Yeah.
So I did some test print. This one was just a test print.
That's beautiful.
I found a picture on my hard drive. So it's a very small scale because my printer is not that big, but it came out quite good according to the fact that I just create a press to create the automatic support. So it wasn't optimized for 3D printing, but it came out great.
Yeah, with the wheat, all the negative space in the wheat, like it came out really nicely. Like that's beautiful. Yeah.
I was really impressed by the quality of the print, according to the fact it was just automatic support and boom, sent to the printer. I also tried to print those jewels and necklace and stuff like that at a real scale. Like I can now create like a mold and even cast them in silver.
Yeah.
And create real earrings or necklace.
That is amazing. That's the beauty of starting in your 3D program to build it. From there, it can branch off to like a render in Blender, 3D print. We have one question here. So it says it's a very interesting approach to sculpting. Have you thought about making more practical meshes and baking your materials onto lower resolution game ready models? So I guess like sculpting it and then putting it into a more real-time game ready model, I think is a question.
I didn't do it, but I should practice that way because yes, it's much more easy to learn the process without having troubles with artifacts you did yourself. So yes, I should do that to learn more and more precisely texturing. But yes, on other project I will.
Yeah, there's many projects after this, I'm sure. Wow, what is this part? Wow.
And this is amazing. I had the opportunity to collaborate with you guys and with an amazing company called Mimaki 3D, and they are able to print in full color.
Wow.
So actually, I took other picture of that. You can find them on my Instagram, I think, and ArtStation.
And, I didn't realize that was 3D printed, that from a 3D printer with color. That's really awesome. Yeah, how big are these?
Actually, they let's say 20 centimeters high, something like that. Maybe I can find it just behind me, just to have.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice to see.
Yes. I will try not to break everything, but
that'd be tragic.
Yeah, it's not glued.
So oh wow, that's beautiful. Holy cow, that's awesome.
Yes, in that direction. Yes, it's big like that. So the wheat is here. It can be plugged there, but it's more or less 20 centimeters high.
That's beautiful.
But you can find better pictures on my ArtStation page. So. It's easier to see the details and the quality. And whoops!
Oh geez, I hope that's not the sculpture. Was that the sculpture? Okay, good.
And yes, so that was a real good surprise to see the quality of the resolution. And actually, the color was not just, but it's a transfer of the maps of the the maps
Of the
maps
bake.
from
Yeah.
from Painter, and the printer can understand those files and print as a 2D printer actually.
Was it displacement map also that you gave them that got all the details from, or was that all the mesh resolution from the?
I think yes, he reprojected the normal maps or the height maps
The normal
to
maps, yeah.
gain the resolution in the print. Yes. As far
That's
as I
awesome.
remember, but it was a bit too dense for me to follow everything in terms of technical aspects. Yeah,
that is amazing. I'm just going to go through some questions here as well, here and there, just so we're getting through the list. One question is, I'd love to know if he's planning to open virtual workshops in the future. That would be really exciting.
Virtual workshops. It might be something I consider in not in a couple of months, but in some times. But I already did some mentoring online, but with traditional techniques. Like I did like private courses and mentoring and following a student along a project, let's say, and giving feedback and checking the real clay is going well. But I don't feel I'm sufficiently skilled in digital to teach digital things, because I'm actually a beginner. So it's difficult for me to to open.
There's a disconnect to me there with what you did and the word beginner, but that's entirely up to you. But for me, I'm like, wow, the results were not beginner at all. That's just amazing.
Yeah, but I took much more time than I should have on this project. So yes, it's a beginner taking a long time to do something.
Such an artist is so hard on yourself. So, but we're all like that. One more question here, or two more. Were the hands 3D scanned or created in 3D? Because I think I was admiring the hand of
yes,
Goddess.
This little slide, yes, but no, it was entirely sculpted. It was sculpted.
So in clay, then you sculpted it in clay and then scanned the hand also.
Digitally.
Oh, digitally. Okay.
Digitally. So you can even see here the layer connection here.
I don't think we're seeing the.
Yes, we are seeing the face, but yeah, it was sculpted in medium.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's just essentially the face. As far as the character goes, you sculpted that in clay, and then
That's... Basically, it was just to remove the pressure, to start something on my comfort zone, and then try to approach the VR sculpting process more relaxed, let's say.
So symbolically as well, it's like that's what you've always done, and then everything else is sort of the new thing, kind of pointing to the head, right, the face. So
exactly. That's the reason why I choose this specific part of the diorama to start with. But it's really fun. I remember I saw Bayard Baudouin. You know well him, I guess, and he posted a while ago some back and forth between a clay sketch and medium, ZBrush, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean he's one of my absolute favorite sculptors, and the way he just uses clay, scans it. I don't know what type of scanner. I think maybe just through the phone. I gotta ask him, and then medium or VR or ZBrush, wherever. And it's just I love that flow of like as digital artists who just come from the digital realm. I now have the ability to go back to clay and vice versa, or someone like yourself. Yeah.
And even other materials like wood or wool or ceramics, and everything is possible now. So
With the phone, it's so easy to acquire anything from the tangible world into digital and compose your whatever's in your imagination, right? Like what you did. Like I'm sure if you saw something in the real world in your next project, you can just sculpt it or grab it and put it in Blender or Painter or whatever you choose to do. Unreal, who knows? Like
I don't know if it's difficult to access to those printers, but I know that some of them can print, clay, basically like diluted clay, and you can then fire it and have a real ceramic at the end of the day. So it's really, really fascinating. I would love to design something in VR and then being able to print it in ceramic, actually.
Yeah. Wow. And then patinaed as well, right? Like
then you can enamel it or glaze it, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
I hope you have enough room in your workshop to have all these like equipments in the future, like a VR space, a print, ceramics printing machine.
Actually, I'm splitting my time between commissions and digital commissions and building my workshop. So I bought a big house a couple of months, not a couple, some months ago, and I'm building a workshop. So in some, let's say, years, I will be able to have everything ready to carve wood, to scan, to print, to everything.
It's like an art mecca. You're gonna have like people come there to do workshops. That could be pretty cool if you have the space.
Yeah, it could be possible because I have a lot of space, and one of my dream actually would be to organize some kind of event, and host like seminars of people coming from different places, carvers, sculptors, digital or traditional illustrators, and enjoying during a week. And
hey, I would be please invite me. I would love to go.
Like a big art jam during a week or something like that, and yes, could be really, really great.
Oh man, it's really amazing. We're just taking everything that's available right now as an artist and just making your thing out of it, enjoying and exploring. I think that's what a lot of artists should do, just explore other opportunities of making things, and learning it. How can we stay in contact with you for further questions? Was another question.
You can send me an email or send me private messages on my Instagram or yes, Instagram is one of my main platform to post work in progress or be in contact with people. So email or private messages on Instagram is okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and Instagram's always for me at least, the main way to contact me. Oh, we have another question here. Questions keep coming, so I'll just ask them. Does he fire his clay in his own kiln, or with polymer clay, can he fire in his household oven? So can you do that? It's not like noxious, toxic or anything?
Yeah, it is a little bit toxic, even if they say on the packaging, yes, suitable for children. It's actually plastic with solvent, so it's not the healthiest thing in the world. But you bake it at 130 degrees in a standard oven. So, but I have an oven specific to bake polymer clay. I don't mix my my cooking and
your food with plastic.
Yeah, but it's a standard oven, so it's very easy to bake. You can buy a very cheap one and keep it for baking the polymer clays. Yeah,
I heard this a while ago, and I don't know if it's true, but can you microwave polymer clay?
It's not a good idea.
Probably not a good idea. Yeah.
No, it burst, it exploded actually. So it's very, it's baking the clay very locally, and
Like
then
this, yeah.
yeah, some parts are stay soft, and some other are burned, or even they burst during
I
the
see.
microwave session. So no, it's not a good idea at all.
Oh, okay. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm covering all the questions here. So yeah, I mean, let me, apologies, first time hosting.
First time talking.
First time for both of us on
Yes.
yeah, I think the only remaining one here is which 3D scanner. I think we're gonna circle back to that. Could it be reality capture or Meshroom?
Yes, reality capture. I think it was
Reality.
that software. Yes. I think I download the, you know, when you don't have the license, you can download it and test it. And I was just using it in that period of time. So just to test, because I tested different algorithm, and meta shape as well, I think, and even some homemade Blender add-ons to rebuild the point clouds. But yes, I think it was reality capture.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was let me just see if there's any more questions. I think that's all for the questions, unless something pops up. But I mean, for me, it was just such an eye-opening thing seeing you, because I've always known your work, and you know, we've known each other for quite some time as well. And you know, and just to kind of see your journey as a digital artist is just in the short amount of time. I know you think that it's long, but for me mentally, it's like, my goodness, he learned all that to come to this beautiful image in such a short amount of time. It's just it's inspiring. I mean, it makes me want to, you know, get off my butt and learn a lot of the stuff you went through, and I'm already a digital artist. So yeah.
And yes, now I'm polishing my skills with the, you know, ZBrush and stuff like that. I had the opportunity to jump on board on different digital commissions. So I'm working on a big commission at the moment, a very cool project. And yes, hopefully I will circle back to the texturing process very soon, because I'm finishing to learn ZBrush and to be more comfortable with the software. And once I finish this learning process very soon, hopefully, I will be back on track and try to open again, you know, the VR painter and all the amazing tools I can play with. Yes, it will be a very exciting time in a few months.
I'm curious. So this question is more from me is out of all the things you've tried, you know, in your digital journey thus far, which one did you gravitate to the most, that you were like, oh really, I want to focus on this some more, you know?
Yeah, the more fascinating was the rendering.
Okay.
And the process. It was the most frustrating part, because all of the errors I did, they were, you know, additioned. And for one image, it took more or less 1 hour and a half. So I don't know if it's a standard for high-res image, but they were not that high-res. But the file was so heavy that it was difficult for me to even test the options in Blender and the different lighting setup, and everything I wanted to click somewhere, I needed to wait for a minute before it affect the scene. So it was a bit too heavy to comfortably learn the rendering part. But it was really fascinating. Obviously, with the textured file, because if not, it doesn't make that much sense. But yes, with the texture, even if it's a simple texture, the rendering is really fascinating, because I found an attraction. How can I say that? A recent fascination to photography, and I am really fascinated by the different moods the photographer can achieve, even with the same hardware, with the same camera. So I want to be able to recreate those different moods, and the big flares, the depth of field, and the grain and stuff like that in the transparency, in a very photographic approach. And it's also the same. I tend to come back to traditional art, even if it's digital, because I feel it's really the main source of inspiration, nature and traditional art.
You go through the journey of digital so that the output of your digital feels like real and traditional, right? Like that's a very interesting bookend.
I don't know if it makes sense, but yes, it's so.
Well, for me, it's more relatable. Like I look at something like that where there's a lot of focus on the realism of the physical world, and it's more approachable. Like, it's not hyper real, it's real. I could tell I could put myself in it, more, I think. So, but I think we're close to time here. We may be closing in 3 minutes. So I don't know if you have any last words, tips, and just things you want to say.
Tips, I'm not sure. Be patient when you want to learn something. Be patient, be curious.
Be curious.
Be relaxed, even if I wasn't really relaxed at the most difficult part in the process. But yes, being curious, and when you want to achieve to a goal, trying to stick at it, and trying not to get frustrated. So I don't know what's the way of people to relax and to release pressure, but yes, that's the tips, not the technical tips, but the
that's even better, like mind state, like getting yourself in that mind state.
And I wanted to thank you guys at Adobe for the support, the technical support, the opportunity, obviously. Yes, Geoffroy, Romain helped me a lot during the whole process, so it was really nice. And so hopefully we will work again some days.
Yeah.
For the project.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And on our end, just wanted to make an announcement here. We'll be at GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, March 23rd to 25th with a booth. So feel free to drop by and connect with us for some exclusive demos. Also on March 22nd, we'll host Substance Days at GDC. So it's a day full of talk with some talented artists, at the program, the keynote with Wes and Seb, and will happen also some talks, AAA talks going on. So a lot of things happening at GDC. So check us out over there. And I guess that's it. It was such a pleasure being your host, being the first time host, and
and first-time speaker.
first time speaker for you. Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming.
Bye-bye.